You are from New York, therefore you are just naturally interesting. Okay? It is not up to you to fill all of the pauses. You are not in danger of mortifying yourself. The worst stuff that you say sounds better than the best stuff that some other people say.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Boys Watching Girls. We're your hosts. I'm Joe Welke.
I'm Vance.
And today we are talking about episode 6 of Girls. We're just two pop culture junkies. We had no idea about the show before, and we started to watch it and wanted to talk about it. And we just got done episode 6, which is titled The Return. Directed by Lena Dunham.
You seem down already about this one.
Directed by Lena Dunham, written by Lena Dunham and Judd Apatow. Original air date May 20th, 2012. Big drop off in viewers.
That surprises me, like how the drop off happens. Is it like people are just waiting to hear about the episode and then not watch it? Like,
I don't know.
Because the last episode would definitely have made me like want to see the next one.
Yeah, the last episode was a good one.
Yeah, the last two before this one were very bingy.
Yeah, they were good, and I mean, the last episode had a big spike in viewers, almost 100,000 more than the week before. The last episode had 0.83 million viewers, so 800,300. This episode, oof. 600,700. I'm sorry. So
it's a drop off of
0.678. A significant drop off.
Okay.
Sorry, everybody. This episode, in my opinion, not a very good episode.
It's an okay episode. It's kind of a bottle episode where it was just like. This episode just follows Lena Dunham's character, Hannah, as she goes back home to Michigan for her parents' anniversary.
30th anniversary.
And, it's just her and back home.
It's a Hannah story.
It's a Hannah story,
There's no other characters in this episode except for Marnie for, like, 2 seconds where she's like, hey, don't forget to pay the rent.
Yeah.
It's like, that's her only purpose in this episode.
Being like, hey, did you ask your parents about the rent?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is Hannah heavy episode, everybody. Yeah. And boy, oh boy, this episode seems unnecessary.
I feel like the ending shows something. Yeah. It shows how she interacts with people, and it's the contrast between her life in Michigan versus New York, but in an interesting way where like she also views people that are trying to do kind of the same thing that she's doing in like a negative way.
Yeah, I mean, I wrote a joke about this when I was living in New York about how I hated living in New York, and it's like such a pressure cooker of just like stress and just terrible. You're just constantly getting the shit kicked out of you. And so I said that living in New York is like being in an abusive relationship. Because when you're there, you're like, I hate you. Why am I doing this to myself? This sucks. And then you visit home, or like you go out of town, and you're like, I wonder what New York's up to.
Yeah. I felt the same way about New York. It was one of those cities where like you couldn't wait to get out of it for like to go on a trip or something. Yeah. But then when you were on that trip, you were like, I can't wait to get back to New York.
You're getting some major FOMO.
Yeah.
And, but...
And now here we are in Los Angeles.
Here we are in LA. Do you still feel that way about New York sometimes, where you're just like, I kind of miss New York?
I went back fairly recently, and like things changed so much. Like I still like New York. I never didn't like New York when I left it, but like once you're out of it long enough, you realize like, oh, you can live somewhere else.
Oh yeah.
That was the thing.
I think I mainly get kind of, I guess, homesick for it. For New York, like we're not from New York, but we lived there long enough. Yeah. Around Christmas time, because it is a very like Christmassy. There's a lot of
For me, I think of Manhattan in the wintertime, and then I think of like Brooklyn in like the summer.
Yeah.
Like that's the way I like break New York up.
Yeah, I mean, when it's Christmas time, I just get like visions of like walking around New York and there's just Christmas shit everywhere and it's cold and it feels like Christmassy.
And you go into a place you have to get off your coats and take off, get warm.
You have all your layers on, and then it just doesn't feel very Christmassy in LA because it's not cold and like everybody here is like a spiritual heathen. There's not a lot of Christmas decorations everywhere, you know. So I think that New York has something there, but I also just hated New York.
Okay. Yeah. It's definitely not for everybody.
Yeah.
And
I spent long enough there to realize like, this probably isn't for me.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's get into this episode. Nice little detour there. This isn't going to be, I feel like this one isn't going to be a long episode.
But we can go through it. We can just kind of run through it in order almost.
We'll do our usual shit.
Yeah.
You want to start it off?
Yeah, we start off with the cold open of her just leaving with a trash bag full of clothes, walking out of her apartment, and Marnie yelling down at her from the window about rent.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, yeah, I'll be... And she's like, be nice to your parents. She's like, I'm always nice. And it's like, okay.
Yeah, all right.
You know Hannah's not nice to her parents.
Definitely not nice. But like, she's traveling with the trash bag. All of her clothes are in a trash bag.
I was like, why can't Marnie lend her a suitcase? Because you know Marnie has a suitcase.
I know. Somebody's got to have a fucking suitcase.
Like, when I move, like, I've moved with, like, clothes and trash bags, but I've never traveled on a plane.
Yeah.
With
that's
clothes
insane.
in a trash bag. Yeah.
Also, like, she's only going for one weekend.
And
Did she not have a backpack?
It was like she brought all her dirty laundry. But we never, like, had the payoff of, like, she just brought laundry. She just bought, like, her whole closet.
Yeah. It was so weird. And then when you see what she's wearing throughout this episode, you're like, really? You brought that? That was the top pick that you brought? Oh, God.
So her parents pick her up from the airport and, like, they're driving home. And this is the interesting thing that happened when they were giving her a ride home. Her dad asked about Adam.
Well, hold on a second. Before we get to that, Marnie tells her that she's got to tell her parents about how she quit her job.
Yeah.
And Hannah does not do that. Like, her parents ask her, like, how's the job? She's like, it's good. Yeah. And her dad asks her about Adam.
Which I was surprised that he even knew about Adam.
Yeah.
And definitely that he knew about Adam by name.
Yeah.
Because no one's ever met him.
Yeah.
And I figured she would be like, oh, I'm seeing this guy or whatever. I could see it maybe telling. From this episode, it seems like she actually talks about, like, stuff like that with her mom. Mm-hmm. Even though the pilot seemed like she would have talked to her dad about stuff like that.
Yeah.
It seemed like they had a more, like, understanding, like, okay relationship. But it seems like her mom was okay with it, too, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, I was really surprised that they knew about Adam.
What if Adam is made up? What if it's just like some kind of psychosis thing that she has? Because no one's seen him.
Oh, if he's just like a figment,
he's just a figment of her imagination.
That kind of would be amazing, actually.
That would be
like normally something like that, you're like, oh, that's kind of lame. But he hasn't interacted with anyone.
No.
And I could see Hannah being that.
What if
crazy.
Hannah's fucking insane?
Oh my god.
She's got a great imagination. She's a writer or whatever. She fancies herself a writer.
This is a really talk about writery episode.
Yeah. Yeah, she lies about her job.
They want to go home. They're watching a movie. She's texting during the movie.
Her parents are mad that she's texting.
They're like, hey, pay attention to the movie. I get on you for this sometimes when we're watching.
Yeah, we're watching stuff together. I'll start texting, and Vance is like, "Oh, I guess I'll just watch this alone."
Well, I'm talking about the thing that happens on the TV, and I look over at you, and you're not even paying attention.
Like,
so I'm
right.
I'm talking to myself.
Sorry, Hannah's mom.
I'll be Hannah's parents in this situation.
You know what? I'm a man, and I know how to do things, Vance. You're afraid when I fuck you or whatever.
Hannah's being a jerk.
Hannah is being a jerk. I love how it's like, of course I'm nice. And then she's immediately like a piece of shit to her parents.
For no reason.
For no real reason.
Yeah.
She's just annoyed.
Yeah. I mean, that's annoyed, like, parent stuff. Just kid parent stuff
Yeah.
a little bit. So it wasn't a big deal. It wasn't crazy.
Yeah, and then they're like, oh, man, what's up with your attitude? You hungry? Go eat some. There's some chicken in the fridge. And she's like, I'm not hungry. Oh.
And
then...
She goes to her room and she's texting, and then she ends up calling Adam.
Yeah.
But she doesn't let it go all the way through, so it's just like she calls and then hangs up.
Yeah.
And she gets a text from Marnie saying, "Hey, did you ask your parents about rent yet?"
Yeah.
And she just skips over that, and then she calls Adam. I'm like, Adam's not going to help you with.
Yeah. Adam doesn't want to listen to your shit about your parents telling you to stop texting.
And then we get your favorite scene.
Yeah.
And she gets that like midnight snack craving.
Yeah, she goes to the
raids
fridge.
the fridge.
And she's
starts
just
handfuls of pasta.
She's just eating everything with her hands.
Just
like a fucking pig, dude. Like, god damn, don't even get put it in the microwave or something. God, I mean, I can understand doing that alone in your own house, but
she doesn't know the camera's there,
dude. But she's at her parents' house.
Yeah,
dude.
It was great.
I would never do that, even alone in my own home. Like this morning, I had some cold pizza left over, and I like took it out, and I just ate it but I got a napkin.
With the fridge? Did you eat it with the fridge open and just trying to get it all in your mouth at one time?
No. Well, she also was holding like 6 different things, and it's like how fucking gross.
Her parents knew she was hungry and she was hiding it.
Yeah, she didn't want her parents to be right, but they were so right about how hungry she was and how it was affecting her mood.
She ends up. The next morning, the dad's out. The mom comes in. She's having hot flashes. She's like, "Hey, Hannah, I need you to go to the pharmacy.
Will you get my prescription? Your father's out." No. She goes, "Will you get my prescription?" And then Hannah's like, "Can't Dad do it?"
Yeah.
Like the fucking entitled piece of shit she is.
And then she's like, the mom's like, "No, you got to do it." And she gets up and she
goes, "What time is it?" And her mom's like, "It's 11."
Yeah.
Like, god damn, dude, sleep in much, you know?
It's like, yeah, I'm like, she's been working a 9 to 5. She shouldn't be that tired.
Yeah.
But whatever. She gets up. She ends up going to a coffee shop to start and runs into her friend from high school, I guess, Heather.
I didn't write down her name.
Yeah, I think her name's Heather Travis. She runs into a friend from high school, and a friend is working the counter. She's like super excited to see Hannah. And that's the thing. Everyone is really excited to see Hannah.
Everyone's really excited to see Hannah.
And everyone's nice to her. And like, no one thinks she's like a weirdo. Like, everyone thinks she's like unique and creative.
Number one, everybody knows her.
Yeah,
like she just walks everywhere. Is
town.
Lansing, Michigan that small?
It's not big as New York or anything. I don't know if it's like, I'm sure Lansing, Michigan is probably big, but the circle from where they all like
like
hang
her
out
neighborhood.
With, Yeah.
I don't know. It was just weird to me because like everywhere she went, somebody was like, "Hannah."
Yeah. Well, even
I
New York
remember
can be
you.
like that. I remember watching Seinfeld before I moved to New York and being like, they would always run into people in the street. I'd be like, that's the biggest city in the world. No one ever does that. And then you like live in New York and it happens all the time because one, everyone's always walking everywhere, and two, everyone just stays in their like little section of New York. Like, you're not just traveling all around the whole city, usually.
I don't know, man. When I go back home, I never run into anyone I went to high school with. No one ever recognized me.
I used to when I was in college, and I would go back, and it was the mall. And I'd go to the mall around Christmas time because I was always back for the holidays.
Yeah.
And I'm running into people like that.
Yeah, I don't know. I can't remember the last time I ran into somebody in Baltimore. Well, I mean, Baltimore is probably much bigger than Lansing, but... Yeah, just never run into anybody. But anyway, so she goes to the coffee shop. Her friend is like telling her.
And the people she runs into in the show, granted, are all working at places that she goes to. It's not like she's just having random bump-ins.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So Heather
goes to the coffee shop.
And her friend Heather is telling her, like, "Oh my God, did you hear about Carrie?" Or this girl, I guess they went to high school with, who like ended up disappearing.
Yeah.
And they're like having a benefit for her that night. And it's this weird thing where like, they were like, "Oh, Carrie loved you, Hannah," and like Hannah's like kind of doesn't really remember her.
Yeah, Hannah's like, I mean, I kind of remember her. Yeah. Apparently, she really liked me. I don't know.
And it's like, and that's the thing. Everyone likes Hannah in this town.
Yeah,
like, yeah, if she was to move back, she would be like the most popular girl for some reason in this town because she's like, I guess just because she has that like creative spirit that I guess, I mean, it's kind of a commentary on that, which isn't fully accurate. I think that we see a lot of like, oh yeah, that creative person moved to New York, and like, oh, they were always so interesting,
Yeah.
And she even says that at one point later.
That was really funny. And I related to that like kind of hard. I was like, oh yeah, this is what people think. But
yeah, so she ends up talking.
Hold on. We got to talk about how the girl is explaining to Hannah that the girl disappeared, but then Hannah's like, well, what are you up to? And she's like, well, I'm moving to Hollywood. Yeah. I'm going to be a dancer. Yeah. And her boyfriend's there. And he's like, oh, you're so good, babe. And it was weird. And then, so Hannah's kind of like, why are you going to move to Hollywood, basically? Like, you can't...
No, she asked, do you know anyone out there?
Do you know anybody
And she's like, oh, from what I know is that you don't need to know anyone.
Yeah. She said, from what I know, you don't need to know anyone, you know?
Yeah.
And Hannah kind of looked at her like, wow, you're a fucking idiot, dude.
Uh-oh. Like, yoink. So, yeah, and then she ends up, doing the task and going to the pharmacy from there.
Getting their mom her hot flash pills or whatever the fuck. Her prescription. And when she gets recognized at the pharmacy.
By the pharmacist, who also went to high school with them.
Yeah. Eric is his name. Okay. I know that because it was on his shirt.
I feel like Heather had a name tag too, but her hair was covering it.
Yeah.
Everyone has name tags where they work in this place.
Yeah. I don't know. I know that Heather's boyfriend's name is Zach because I could see his name tag. Yeah. But her hair was covering her name tag.
If they had that in a pilot, if everyone had name tags, we wouldn't have that issue. So he's like they're having like a weird meet cute. He's flirting with her a bit.
And he recognized her because she was the writer of an advice column in high school at their high school newspaper.
He said it was called Hollerin' Hannah, and she's like, no, it's Holla at Hannah.
Yeah.
So anyway, they're at the counter. She's like buying pantyhose and other stuff.
Yeah, her mom's hormone pills.
And he spots her. She's $3 short for something. He spots her that. And
he owns the pharmacy with his dad.
Yeah, he doesn't just work there. He owns it with his dad.
I'm gonna be honest.
And
this is number one. This is a horribly boring episode of the show. And this is a boring episode.
No. It builds to something great at the end.
It does build to something at the end, but oh god. I mean, there's like more interesting stuff happening later on in the episode.
I know, that's what we're getting to.
Yeah, this is. I'm not editing this out either.
Tell them how you really feel.
I'm telling them. I mean, there's just not, in my opinion, there's, even with the more interesting stuff going on in the episode, there's not a lot.
This is kind of like one of those refresher episodes, and probably one where, like, budget-wise, they were like, we need to, like, just get one. That's when you usually end up with those bottle episodes, like in Breaking Bad, where they have the one episode with the fly, and they're in one place. It's like, all right, we spent a lot of money on this stuff. Let's have an episode just centrally located and just, like, do this thing.
Yeah.
But anyway.
So she's at the pharmacy. The guy's flirting with her. She gets the stuff. He spots her for the pantyhose. She goes into her car, and then he comes out, and he's like, hey, I know that those are hormone pills. And she's like, yeah, they're for my mom. And he's like, well, kind of dries you out. Here's some personal lubricant on the house. It's like, what?
It's like, nasty.
Yeah. It's like, you're going to get your mom some personal lubricant? I
mean, he's a pharmacist, so he has to deal with people from that town that he probably knows ordering stuff for things that,
Yeah, and then he asks her out. Mm-hmm. He's like, how long are you in town for? And she's like, oh, I'm just here for the weekend. He's like, so do you got any plans? You doing anything? Mm-hmm. And she's like, why? He's like, do you want to do something? Yeah. She's like, with you? And he's like, yeah. She's like, yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Then she's like, what should we do? And he's like, I mean, we can go to that benefit for
nothing more romantic. Lady. No, nothing's more romantic than going to a benefit for a missing friend. When you're thinking of dates, you're like, oh, yeah, that's what. There's a sex trafficking event that we could go to.
So she's like, yeah, sure, let's do that. Yeah. So they make plans to go out. She's totally bailing on her parents.
Which is fun. No one should be hanging out with their parents for their anniversary.
The whole reason that she went home to Lansing, Michigan was for their parents' anniversary.
This is what I really wanted to dive into. I wanted to find out if her old boyfriend's accusation of her dad being gay was true.
Yeah.
And I was waiting for this episode to have something about it. I don't think that'll ever come to fruition anymore.
I think it, in fact, confirmed the opposite.
It was a moment where it was teasing things, where like his reaction when they came in.
Yeah, he had the banana sign. Hannah banana.
No, not when she first landed, but like when they came in after the pharmacy and he was in the kitchen, looked like he was like hiding something, and he was like leaning, and he seemed really upset that she wasn't gonna be there for the date. Like he wanted her to be there to like be the like buffer for some reason, which I mean is me trying to like really push that narrative into it. But I thought like I don't know, because the whole dinner when the parents go out, they just keep talking about Hannah, which parents do.
With parents, yeah. That's what they say. But like, so she gets back to the place with her mom or something, and her dad. She's like, "Hey, I'm gonna let you guys go on your anniversary date, and I'm gonna not go.
I'm gonna go with this guy."
And her parents are like, "The whole reason why you came back was because it's our anniversary. We're gonna spend time together." And she's like, "I need to know what it's like to be treated well because the guy I've been dating has been treating my heart like monkey meat," or whatever she said.
She does say that.
I was like, that's so stupid. And her parents are very understanding about this.
Super understanding. They cut her off in the pilot, but they're still understanding, nurturing, like enabling a bit.
I know that my parents would not have been as understanding as her parents.
Do you go on your parents' anniversaries much?
Yeah, I mean, their anniversary, every year they go on a trip to some kind of Disney thing. I spent their anniversary with them this year.
They go to Disney every anniversary?
They either go to Disney World, Land, and this year they went to the Hawaii Disney
So
Resort.
Disney Plus coming out just blew their mind?
They're rolling it. No, they already have all the VHSs of everything that's on Disney Plus. Even The Mandalorian
the
somehow.
They haven't upgraded to DVDs or Blu-rays, just the VHS. They like that original.
Yep. Those like storybook
Do they have an old standard def TV just so they can get the...
Yep.
All right. They have a room dedicated to VHS.
They have one of the first plasma screens that came out. It's 42 inches and it weighed like 6,000 pounds.
I will say those old VHS Disneys, I really love the artwork and how big plastic.
Yeah, the big plastic is like opening a book.
But it was like you couldn't fit them in anything. They didn't like fit in.
Oh, I'll take a picture when I go back home.
But like you had to like it had to have like a bigger shelf for it.
Yeah, they got big shelves.
Yeah.
My parents got big shelves, man.
All right, whatever.
A little humble brag there.
I'm okay with her.
The Welkies got big shelves.
I'm okay
everybody.
with her parents. I'm okay with her parents allowing her to do that, knowing if they know about Adam.
Yeah.
Let her go and date this. And if the mom like kind of wants her to maybe move back in town, maybe this guy.
Yeah.
If she falls for him, he could be the guy that brings her back. Come on, let's be
her mom knows the guy too. She's like, he is cute and he is nice.
they go to the pharmacy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to be fair, the guy is cute.
Yeah.
And he is very nice.
Yeah.
So then she's like, okay, you can go on your date or whatever.
Yeah.
And then I think the next scene is like her trying on the awful clothes that she brought.
I thought those were clothes that were left there.
That's what I thought. I thought the first dress, the sparkly dress.
The sequin dress.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, that had
There's no purpose. There's no reason for her to bring that back.
I wish she would have wore that like outfit that she wore when she went to see Adam in one of the episodes where she looked very like goth.
Oh, the goth? Yeah, and he was like, wow, you look hot as fuck. Oh, wow, you look fucking hot as shit. Oh. But this is where she's trying on things, and then she says the line, "You are from New York. Anything you say will be interesting.
Yeah,
you are more interesting.
You are naturally interesting."
Yes, yeah.
Like she said, she's like pumping herself up for this date, and she's telling herself all these things, and like even the worst things you say are still more interesting than anything anyone else. So it's like it's just like an interesting like peek into her mindset, and
and I feel like people
lie to herself and think
everybody that moves to New York feels that way a little bit.
You come back home, oh yeah, I live in New York, and it's like
people are like, whoa, what's it like? Crazy.
But later,
you're just a loser.
But later, when he asks her about like what she does,
she's
like,
let's it all unravel.
Yeah,
and that's the truth.
Yeah,
we all think that we're like doing shit.
You're doing nothing.
You're not doing shit.
You're waiting tables in New York and you're coming back.
Hannah's not even doing that.
And seeing another person wait tables in your own town, and it's like you're not. You're doing the same thing.
Hannah's getting Sexually harassed at her workplace.
Oh, about that. So the opening scene, she's like, Marnie's like, are you going to tell your parents that you lost your job? She's like, I didn't lose my job. I quit because I didn't want to have my boobs touched every day. Yeah. And I'm like, you grabbed the guy's hand and put him on your boobs. Like, you tried to sleep with him. Like, I'm like...
We're going back to Vance's theory that she secretly likes being sexually harassed.
But, like, she can't be like, I quit it because, like, I was being sexually harassed. And I think she quit it because of the turn down.
I think that she quit it because she kind of painted herself into a corner.
Yeah.
She was like... The guy was like, oh, I don't want to fuck you.
Yeah, if that guy would have slept with her, she'd still be working there and sleeping with her boss.
Yeah.
And then telling Adam about it.
Yeah.
And he'd be like, okay.
So, she's trying on outfits. She thinks she's more interesting just because she lives in New York. She looks down upon the people of Lansing, Michigan, it seems. And anyway, so then she goes to the party.
Well, they go get pizza.
Oh yeah, they go get pizza. And the guy's like, I hope you don't mind that I took you to a pizza place.
Yeah.
She's like,
which is a big...
She's like, what are you talking about? I love pizza.
But it's one of those big things where, like, New York is known for pizza. You can't eat pizza anywhere else, you know? Like, that kind of thing. So it's like... But she grew up there. Like, she would know the pizza place.
Yeah.
Like, it's fine.
And then she's talking about Adam and how she was a vegetarian for a while. And then she was hungry at Adam's place, and all he had was raw meat that his cousin killed, skinned, and sent him in the mail. And that was
such an Adam thing. I love it. So just the fridge is just full of raw meat.
And then so he cooked her meat, which broke her vegetarianism.
Well, I love the best part. She's like, I had two options. It was either to eat that or to go out, get something, and then when I come back, not know if he's going to answer his phone or buzz me in.
Or he'll just disappear. She said.
Like,
oh, God damn.
He's like listening to this, like, yeah, okay. Like, that's a weird...
And that was a perfect description of what Adam would do.
Yeah, you couldn't leave the house because you know, like, he might not. He was gone 3 days later. Like, where were you, kid? So then they go to the
benefit thing.
Benefit and
Hollywood girls performing. It's awful.
Heather says she wants to be a dancer and she performs this song and it's just like her and like two backup dancers and it's very generic pop.
Yes, but the lyrics are horrifying.
The lyrics are so weird because she's talking about like, I'm Carrie and I'm like...
Keep in mind, Carrie is this missing girl. She's like, I'm Carrie and people are jealous of me because I'm hotter than them.
They want to look at my dairy hair. Yeah. It's like, it's like so distasteful a song.
Yeah.
But
that's what I was just like, what? And people are like cheering and they're like into it. And I'm like, this is just unacceptable. Yeah. It's so...
Oh my God. It's like the worst. And like, I was like listening to the words more than watching her dancing. Because the dancing was like just generic pop dancing. Like nothing like, no moves, but like you could see her like being someone on stage doing that. Yeah, maybe not like the headliner, but maybe like, you know,
I was just focused
somewhere.
I was focused on the lyrics because they were so painfully cringy
but super funny though.
Yeah, like, it was really funny. Yeah. But then Hannah's there with Eric, and Eric puts his arm around her, and she's drinking the most enormous beer ever.
Yeah, in a glass at this party. Like I was like, all right. Because it's not like they were in like a fancy bar. It looks like they just rented out a space to do this.
Yeah, it looked like this benefit was in like a warehouse or something.
So it goes into a close up of Hannah when that's happening, and we just see her face like, what is this?
Yeah.
And I thought she was like reacting to the lyrics more, but then we find out in the scene later they're in Eric's car, Eric, and she's talking like, oh my God, that dancing was so bad, and no one's telling her. And she's going to go to Hollywood and live in a crappy apartment and be sad all the time. And, like, no one's going to, like, tell her, like, this. No one's telling her that she shouldn't do this.
Yeah, and Eric's like, why would you? That's what she wants to do.
Yeah, it's like it was a little cheesy, but, like, whatever. It's not, like, a big deal.
Yeah, like, he's like, she's having fun.
Yeah.
Like, whatever.
And
Hannah's like, but no, it's going to suck.
Yeah.
It's going to suck. And she's, like, projecting all of her problems
onto this
girl, which is kind of like... well, she's not telling her, but she's like, I don't want her to go through the same kind of pain and shit that I go through. And then she even mentions like, I wish I had her life here because she's like somebody here.
Yeah, I'm like, but she just works at the coffee shop.
Yeah,
like, we haven't seen her life outside of has a boyfriend that also works at coffee shop.
Yeah,
like I was like, her life is, who knows what her life is like.
Yeah,
her
dude.
friend went missing, and she's like, I'm like, how's that better?
I would kill for her life. Her friend is missing, and she works at a
coffee shop. Like, that seems like attainable goals.
Yeah.
But no, like, then she talks about, like, oh, maybe I should move back and, like, do this and that. And he asked her, what did he ask her?
He's like, well, you can. There's an opening at the florist. And she's like, no, I can't work.
I would get a real, she's like, I would get a real job.
I would need a real job, like teaching or something.
I would get a real job, like teaching.
And then he goes, well, what do you do in New York? And she goes, I'm a writer.
Like,
and he goes, for money?
And she goes, right? She's like, oh yeah, for money.
For money? And she goes, I have no money.
And then he's just like how am I still going to pull this off?
I mean, this is awkward, but I'm still trying to get my dick wet.
Then he's like, all right, you know, just don't be so serious. Like,
yeah,
don't be so serious.
I'm going to lighten up, lady.
Relax. Like, you want to go back to my place?
And she's like, sure.
Yeah. She's like, naturally, or what? She says something, the way she says it. But yeah. So they go back to his place.
Well, hold on. Now we switch to her parents at the dinner.
Yeah, they're at the dinner. They're
talking about how they're worried about Hannah, and
her mom twice says she knows how to have fun.
Yeah, I didn't get that.
She's just saying like she sleeps around a lot because that's also not what she does.
Yeah,
like this is the third person she slept with probably.
Yeah,
but
her parents are like worried about her, and they're like concerned about like. They're like, does she have enough money? Like, we're worried. Like, we cut her off. Like, was that too harsh? And, you know,
and the dad seems more concerned, like, what a person of her personality will be like growing up.
Yeah.
Because he's like,
the dad's
she's
like
funny. She's like, she's got a nice personality. People seem to like her, especially in this town. People love her.
Oh, yeah.
But he's like, where does that go? And then the mom's talking about like him in his 20s and how awkward he was. And he's like, oh, no, not that. Like, He's like, I don't want her to go through that awkwardness like that she's going through right now.
Well, he also says like she's like kind of floating around right now, but what happens when she's 30 and like this is real life now. Yeah. Like you can't be, and that kind of hit hard for me.
And it's interesting because of what Hannah's been saying about the Heather girl and like not making it as a dancer, and then then it just cuts right to the parents being like, "What if Hannah doesn't make it as a writer?" Yeah, basically. So
they're like, "We don't even know if her writing's any good."
Yeah, she gave us 3 notebook pages of stuff for us to read, and then asked us to finance the book.
Yeah, and then her mom keeps saying like she knows how to have fun, and he's like, well, and her dad says something, I forget what it is, but her mom just keeps repeating to her dad, use your brain.
Yeah.
Use your brain.
Yeah.
I was like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Like what kind of cryptic bullshit is this?
Yeah. Yeah. So, and then we get to your favorite scene is the sex scene with Lena Dunham and
Eric and Hannah hooking up. And Eric's just trying to have sex. He's just trying to fuck.
He's just trying to have.
He's trying to have regular, normal people sex. And Hannah's so fucked up from Adam and like having sex with a gay guy for so long that she doesn't understand what like normal sex is.
She doesn't like. It was interesting. Like she doesn't understand like what a baseline would be, or like how to like feel out a situation. It's like when she makes the like rapist joke at the job. Like she doesn't know how to like read a room, see where the level is, get close to the line, then cross. Like you ease into things. She just goes all the way in.
I love the part where they're like just kissing, and she goes, "What's your favorite part of fuck?" Oh, no, what's your favorite part? And he goes, "Of what?" And she goes, "Of fucking me." And Eric goes, "I don't know, I haven't done it yet." That was like such a. I've had a situation like that happen,
like where
with
the dirty talk is happening, and it's just offbeat.
I was like, wait, what? Dude, I gotta tell this story. One time I was hooking up with this girl in college who was like, she was from an Asian country. I don't remember which one, but she barely spoke English. And she had an intense Asian name. And you know when people have intense Asian names, they'll choose an American name to make it easier for us stupid Americans.
By intense, you mean one that's hard for us to pronounce.
But English. It wasn't even hard to pronounce. And we were hooking up, and she said, "Say my name," and I went, "What?" And she went, "Say my name," And then I said her whole name. I said her real name, her chosen American name, and her last name. So I was like, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. That reminds me of the sketch in Alternative Tino, that sketch show when he's like having sex with this lady and she loves his like him speaking in Spanish to her, but he starts running out of things to say. So he's like talking about like the exterminator is coming, like nothing sexy, just saying a bunch of random stuff in Spanish and she's being turned on by it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So Eric and Hannah are having a big disconnect because she's like used to Adam being like, "You're a little girl,
and
like,
what do you want me to do? I don't know what to do unless you tell me what you want me to do," like kind of thing.
Well, she tries to stick her finger in his ass, and he's like, "What are you doing? Don't do that.
Don't do that."
And she's like, "Well, what do you want? Like, you're not telling me what you want."
He's like, "I just want."
He's like, "I just want to have sex."
Yeah. And then they're kissing and getting close to doing it, and she like leans close, and you know she's about to say something awkward.
Yeah.
And she's like, and I think he starts having sex, but he's like, "I'm tight like a baby, aren't I?" or something.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah, I wrote, like, "I'm tight like a baby." Yeah.
He's like, "Come on."
Yeah.
like he's just like, "What the hell, man?" And then
we cut to her parents fucking,
which is just like beautiful parallel editing.
Yeah.
Just
and Mom has nicer boobs than Lena Dunham.
I don't think I was keyed in on them because I was just like locked in on those old faces going at it.
Yeah.
And they're in the shower. They're having
in the shower.
Shower sex.
And I knew that was going to be a bad sign.
Yeah.
Old people in the shower, bro.
It was just like a lot of
risks.
Yeah.
So they're fucking. They change positions. Dad's like, "Come on, bend over."
Yeah.
And then so he's doing her from behind, and then he falls out of the tub and cracks his head on the ground, which
I thought he might have died.
I thought so too. That's serious.
I was like, "Oh man." And the way he falls is kind of comical. The way he goes,
"Oh!" Yeah, it's kind of comical.
He slips sideways out, which physically, like, would be like, because you're like, you could see slipping forward and stumbling and then going, but like he like completely toppled sideways out.
Well, if he also too, like if he topples sideways out, it's hard to hit your head on the ground.
Well, you could hit it sideways, but like we find him on the back. I don't know, because we don't see it in this shot. We only see it later when she gets home.
Yeah.
When Eric drops her off, and he's like, "Hey," and he's like waving by, and then they linger on him for just a beat after she gets out of the car.
Where he's just like, "Oh Jesus,
what am I?" They're like, "All right, she's leaving."
What the fuck was that? Thank God that's over.
Yeah.
She goes back into the house. Hear her mom scream. It seems like her mom made no attempt to help the dad.
No, like that seemed like you immediately.
Well, she
make
got
a phone call.
She was naked, and then by the time we see her next, she has a robe on.
She has a robe on, which means either she got a robe, got out of the tub, put the robe on, and then started caring about like.
She got out of the tub, dried off, put a robe on, while her dad's just like passed out. And she's like still screaming at him, like, "Wake up!
Yeah,
wake up!" She keeps calling him Dad.
Wait, did she say that?
She calls him Dad.
She was calling him Dad.
Yeah, because before Hannah even gets home, she says Dad.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. That's weird.
I don't know. My mom calls my dad Pop sometimes, like when...
I mean, we've established your family's weird. Like, it's cool.
Yeah, they got big shelves.
They got big shelves,
man. So Hannah comes in on her mom screaming... Yeah. And she's like very not concerned. If I heard my mom screaming at my dad, I would be running towards like I'd be like, "What the fuck's going on?"
She's walking to the door almost as if she's in a horror movie. Like in a slow like
she's walking, but it doesn't seem like she has concern on her face. She's just like, "What's going on? What's happening?" She opens the door. Her dad's like passed out on the ground. His dick's all out.
Which is funny because in the pilot, she passes out from that weird tea in front of them in the first one. Yeah, so it's just so the mom's next to pass out. The mom's next to pass out next time we see him.
Mm-hmm. So
the hot flash will get her.
Her mom has been screaming at her dad the whole time that since he fallen out. Hannah comes home and she's like, "Daddy," and he immediately wakes up.
Yeah,
and he's like, "Hey,
and she's like, "Mom, he's not unconscious." I'm like, he's been out for a minute.
Yeah.
Like, he's not going to wake... And he does a good job when he gets up and being real stumbly.
Oh, yeah. Hannah throws a towel over his cock.
Yeah.
And,
which you thought the mom would have...
Oh, yeah, but,
Yeah. Well, if she had the wherewithal to put on a robe.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
She doesn't care about him.
No.
She cares about her own modesty, So then Hannah's like, okay. Hannah's taking this like a pro.
Yeah, Hannah's like calmer than like you. I don't know if I've ever seen her really, really freak out big. No. But like this, you would think she would have some concern. She's like, no, it's fine. You were banging in the shower. My dad's button balls are out.
Yeah, she's like, just fine. Mom, pick up his other arm. Let's pick him up. I'll grab his head.
We'll get him in the bed.
And then they lift her dad up, and she's like, oh, why didn't you hold on to the towel? I don't want to see your dick and balls. And Dad's like, I'm so embarrassed. And Hannah's like, you should be. This is embarrassing.
And the dad's stumbling out. It's like really fun.
Yeah, and then
funny visual.
And then she's like, well, how did Dad fall? And she's like, we were in the shower. And she's like, what were you doing in the shower? And Mom's like, we were having sex.
Yeah.
It's like, duh.
Yeah. And and then the mom and her have a little heart-to-heart after they get him in the bed.
Her mom is like, really, are you okay with money? Because I know that we cut you off and it was a huge blow, and like we just want to make sure that you're okay. Yeah. And this is her grand opportunity to be like,
I still feel like,
no, Mom, I'm good.
It's tough asking parents for money.
It's tough, but like she quit her job because she's being sexually harassed.
No, she didn't quit her job because she's being sexually harassed. Well, I argue against
in her
that.
Story,
in her logic.
Yes,
that's her thing, but that's not kind of how it happened.
Yeah,
because she would have quit that job a long time ago because of that.
And this is a nice scene,
but then it's also she's told her parents that she still has the job.
Yeah.
So but here's the thing. She's like trying to save face throughout all of this. She doesn't really try to save face in front of Eric. Like she doesn't lie about like, oh yeah, I'm writing this thing and like, oh, I haven't sold anything yet, but I have some things in the works. Like she didn't like sugarcoat that.
Yeah.
But she made it be like, I don't have any money.
Yeah. She made it seem like her life is garbage in New York to Eric. And Eric's like, I'm just trying to get up in them guts, girl.
I was gonna say something I'm not. And then,
Eric would never say that. Eric's the nicest guy.
Eric's super nice, pharmacy guy, owns a business. Yeah. Could do a lot worse.
I feel like this is a good scene though, where her mom is like kind of understanding her pain.
Yeah,
where she's like,
and they kind of joke about the sex stuff.
Yeah,
and it was like, oh, because before the only time we saw the mom, it seemed like she was like, my daughter's a fuck up, and I need to cut her off.
Yeah.
This we go like, okay, they do have that like. They sit around and gossip about stuff about life and whatever. So she's like, I know we cut you off and it's rough and like you had to see your dad's balls hanging out now. So maybe if you do need some money, some hush money, just let us know. And she takes that moment. She's like, no, I'm good.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm okay with that because I like seeing her try to find the money.
Yeah. I understand where Hannah's coming from, where it's like, no, I'm stronger than this. I can make this work. I don't need my parents' help anymore. But
Marnie's not gonna take it.
No,
Marnie's gonna
be pissed. She was like, "Well, you what?
You what? I'm working at this art gallery."
Yeah. So Hannah goes to sleep, wakes up to a call from Adam.
Adam,
who is the savior of this episode.
Adam, who has a lacy sleep mask up on his forehead and is just in bed reading a book in his underwear or something. And he calls her. And he's like, hey, did you call? He's like, he calls and she's like, hey, this is Hannah. And he's like, no, I know. I called you.
Yeah,
like,
I know. I called you.
Just want to know. It's like, where you at? And like, oh, yeah. And she's like, I'm home. He's like, cool, I'm home too. He's like, no, I'm home. Like, he's like, oh, in Ohio? She's like,
no, in Michigan. And he goes, oh, fuck. Oh, right, fuck.
She's like, I don't care if you don't know where I'm from or if you didn't get my name right.
Yeah.
Like, she's just like, all right. Like, and at this point is when I'm like, you know what? Maybe Hannah doesn't deserve normal. This is what she deserves. She deserves Adam.
Yeah.
Like, Adam is who... he's weird, and they have some kind of connection. Mm-hmm. I love he just calls her kid all the time. He's like, I miss you, kid.
Yeah, he was like, oh, glad that you called. I missed you.
Yeah.
She was like, really? Yeah. He was like, yeah. So you're on my phone? And I was like, oh, where the fuck is this girl?
I wish she was here. Where is it? And it's just like, I mean, he's in it for like maybe 5 minutes, maybe less. It's maybe like 2 minutes, but it's just like
stealing.
When he comes on, it's just like, and just his interaction with Hannah, like it's like no matter what she says, whatever he says afterwards is just going to be hilarious, and her reaction to it, it's just like if this episode was just her and Adam going to a cabin, that would be amazing.
Well, and so confesses that she had sex with Eric, the pharmacy guy. Yeah. And Adam's like, how was it?
Yeah. She's like, good. No, like, fine. And she's like, is that weird that I brought that up? Like, why would that be weird?
Yeah.
Oh, and the best part is when she says, there was a sex accident. What was it? It was a sex accident with my dad.
Oh, yeah.
She's like,
and he goes, you were having sex with your dad? She's like, no, she was having sex with my mom. And he's like, oh, that seems like a better match.
And it's just, like, it's so good.
Yeah.
And then, at the end, she tells him, like, oh, what's happening outside your window in New York right now? It's like, oh, you want me to get up? He's lying in bed. She's like, yeah, why don't you get up? He's like, and he gets up and starts talking about this, like,
crackhead that he had a half-hour conversation about cashews
and talking the story.
There's like a nice little interaction, nice little bow on the end of the episode.
And it just trails off, and she's like talking on the phone and just like has this little
wearing a horrendous onesie pajama bullshit.
And just because it's TV, she has to leave her room and go outside to make the call. The call just to change locations. Yeah. And she's just talking, and she has a smile on her face, and she's as happy as she could be right there. And it's just like that moment, you're like, man, Adam and her should not be together. Yet they need to be together.
But who else?
Here's what I say: I want I want those two to be together for this reason. I don't want the two of them to take their psychosis and put it on two other people.
Oh yeah.
Like I'd rather have two crazy people just like isolate
crazy and off each other.
Yeah, I don't want that to spread.
Yeah.
I don't want Adam to be in someone else's life. Ruining things, and I don't want Hannah in Eric's life. The pharmacist.
Oh no,
I don't want her ruining the pharmacist's life.
No, that guy's too pure.
Yeah,
he's too good.
So let's just put
Eric should date Marnie. Eric should date Charlie.
Eric and Charlie should get
just two pure, nice souls together.
I want the show to go haywire. Just like I want Hannah to start dating Ray. Like I want Charlie to hook up with Adam.
Shoshana fucks Yorma Tacone.
yeah. I just want it to go all over the place.
And that's the episode. That's episode 6. That is the return.
You know,
final thoughts on this bad boy.
It sets up on the ending with the Adam and Hannah stuff. And yeah, we do see that if she moved back home, she could write her book from home. She does not need to live in New York to write the book.
Yeah.
And she would have an okay life. Probably would live with her. I wonder, her parents would probably welcome her in to live with them.
Oh yeah. Well, they said that they miss her, and that's the only reason why they're concerned about her and worried about her.
Like if she came back, she could live at home.
Yeah.
But they don't want to pay for her living in New York, which is I get. Like it's expensive and whatever. Yeah. But they're well off. They're doing fine. Yeah. But it definitely eats up your income when you're paying for a person to live in a expensive city.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. I thought this was a very kind of meh episode.
Yeah, it doesn't have the steam that we had with the last two and like bouncing around.
There's a lot of moving parts in the last couple episodes. But this one was kind of
we see Hannah's psychosis and like I don't think we learned that much more about her that we already knew. I just think they just tied she complains about Adam. She thinks it's over with him. He's trying to think like they can't leave each other.
Yeah, they're not on the same page because she doesn't think that he knows her name, and he's like, what are you talking about? I miss you, and like I like fucking you.
Yeah. He's just a big weirdo though.
He's a weirdo.
God, but he's a scene stealer.
Yeah. I think that was it's
not the greatest.
It's not the best episode. Yeah. It was okay. The Adam shit was great.
How long are those seasons? 10 episodes?
Yeah, like 10 to 12.
Okay. All right. Yeah. This is the middle of the season. I feel like they were ramping up the last two.
Yeah, and I was expecting some big payoff.
You know what we need next episode, though? We have to have some Shoshana.
Well, the next episode, what a title.
Okay, what is it?
Episode number 7. Stick around for that episode of Boys Watching Girls. Episode number 7 is called Welcome to Bushwick, a.k.a. The Crackcident.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. Well,
Shoshana does crack. That's it.
And I hope it, like, I'm with you. I hope it goes off the rails.
I want it to go so in a level where I don't like shows to go normally. I want this to just get so over
want
the
there
top.
to be bizarre shit going
Just
on.
stuff that like doesn't make any sense anymore.
Jessa steals Shoshana's virginity or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's her cousin.
And then they argue that that's not.
Yeah.
It doesn't count.
Doesn't count because there's no penetration or whatever, and then Jessa pegs her or something. Just fucking weird shit.
God, if that wasn't her cousin, Jessa would do something like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Jessa's not in this episode though.
Thank God. You know,
Were you missing Jessa though? Did you need a little bit of?
There was
Jessa
nothing
angst?
for me to really hate in this episode.
Yeah.
I didn't have any strong emotions toward this episode.
Except for the eating out of the fridge.
Oh God, yeah, yeah, dude. But yeah, I like to feel something when I'm watching this show.
Really?
And I felt nothing about this episode until Adam.
The thing I'm curious about is like I thought it was going to be a big payoff with the missing girl situation, and I
thought she was going to like return or something.
I didn't know how that was all going to work out, but
yeah,
that was just really a setup for that dance number situation.
Yeah, well, that's episode 6, everybody. Episode 6, The Return. We've been your hosts, Joe Welke,
Vance Tucker,
and yeah, see you next time.